In this video, I'm not going to be talking about anything entertaining. This will not be a fun video. I'm going to be talking about a new change on Twitter and some issues that I and quite a few other people have with it. So if you guys do not want to hear about an issue or to have a serious discussion, then click away right now because you will not like this video. If you guys don't want to hear about politics in any sense, do not click on this video click away from this video because this video is going to be at least somewhat political. Even though I try to make my videos pretty non-political, this one is going to have some politics being played into it. If you only want entertainment and absolutely nothing else, click away right now, because you will not be entertained by this video. If you want to have a serious discussion about a serious topic that I have an actual issue with, and that a lot of people are going to have a lot of issues with on Twitter, then go ahead and stay on the video. So, Twitter has just announced a new rule they're going to be implementing on December 18th, which has a few people worried about a couple things. The whole point of this rule they're going to be implementing is to crack down on hate speech and about threats and things like that. And I understand where Twitter's coming from. They have a good point on wanting to, eliminate hate speech, and it's their platform. They can do what they want with it. If they feel that someone is being unfair on Twitter, they're chanting, how all people of this particular group are evil, or how they're less than human, or about how they need to be killed or be destroyed or anything, and they want to crack down on that, that's fine. It's their platform. They can do what they want with it. However, it is a very common social media site. It is kind of a responsibility to let people say what they want. Hate speech, I totally understand why they would want to eliminate that. However, the method they're going about it is not very good, in my opinion. And I will leave a link to this article in the description box of this video, so you guys can look at it yourself and read into it and give your own opinions. And I have not written this very thoroughly. I've only read a few paragraphs, and so I don't honestly know about absolutely everything that's necessarily going on with this. But they're going to be not only looking at what you say, they're going to be looking at all sites that you use. Apparently, if you have cookies disabled on your web browser, you will not be able to access Twitter on your web browser. I have no idea how the apps and stuff are going to be working for this, but at least on web browsers, if you do not have your cookies enabled, then you cannot use Twitter, because they'll be looking at your cookies to look at websites that you visited, and if they think these websites are in violation of their rules, then they will suspend your account and review it more carefully. If they think there's anything questionable or hateful in your Twitter biography, in your name, in your Twitter handle, in your pictures, they will suspend your account. And I understand why they're doing it. They are free to spend what they wish, but the fact that they're going to be looking at other websites that you go to, what if you go to something to read what a side that you're disagreeing with is saying? What if you want to try to understand someone else, and Twitter thinks you're going to a site that's absolutely horrible? Or what if Twitter uses this for something a bit different? In my experience, I don't know if this is entirely true. This is more of an opinion thing, just from what I've seen on Twitter. Twitter usually tends to suspend accounts that are usually more conservative or more Republican, more right-handed, and there can be accounts that are more left-handed, that are more liberal, that say the absolute worst things, but Twitter won't do a single thing about them. There was one guy who was a conservative, who he was a Twitter-verified person. He's a politician, I think, actually. Twitter suspended his account because, according to them, he was using swear words. They did not appreciate it. And yet there is a left-hand politician who will quote Republican tweets, mainly President Trump's tweets, and will say the absolute worst things. He will curse left, right, and center. He will say absolutely horrible things about people. He will talk about how these people need to die, about how they're a disease, how they are hurting everything in society, about how they're parasites. And he's also Twitter verified. He's left-hand, and Twitter hasn't even given any reason to doubt his account at all. So Twitter, from my point of view, is biased. I could be wrong about that. I might think that I might just only be seeing certain aspects of Twitter. I know that things slip through the cracks all the time on Twitter, but still, I mean, in every site, something's going to slip through the cracks, but I feel that Twitter is letting a lot more left-hand things slip through the cracks and not a whole lot of right-hand things. Something that's right-handed and even remotely questionable, Twitter seems to suddenly turn against, but if it's left-handed, if it is not obviously, actually, even if it sometimes is obviously saying horrible things, they'll still let it go. And I don't think that is a good thing. If Twitter is biased, then that is a problem. Twitter should not be biased. It should not be questionable in nature at all. And and as for the main thing they're trying to do is not just hate speech. They specifically pointed out alt-right people, but the alt-left is just as bad, and there is an alt-left. Alt-left is like Antifa, for example. Antifa will go out on Twitter and they will talk about how they're going to have rallies, and if anyone shows up who disagrees with them, they will beat them to death with baseball bats with nails in them. They literally will talk about how they're planning to murder people in cold blood, and Twitter's okay with them. There are people who talk about how all white men must die because they're white and they're male. There are people who talk about how all white people need to pay every other race, every single cent they get every single year because they don't deserve to have that money because they're white. They talk about how white people are horrible, about how men are horrible, about how, and not even just white men, it's also even white women and sometimes even other races, but it's still left-handed. I mean, it's more geared towards higher majority groups, for like white men. When I say higher majority, I mean like more people in those groups across the country. I don't know about across the globe how many white people there are across the globe, but at least in the country, I believe at the moment the majority of the country is still white, I think. I could be wrong about that. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's probably at least 50% of the population is probably. Well, I'm honestly not sure. That's just numbers. But that would, if you're any more than 50%, then you'd be considered a majority. Or if you're pretty much, even if you're like 40%, but they're like 10 other races, and all of them are like smaller percentages than 40, then you would still be considered the majority. So I think because of that, white people are technically the majority in the U.S., but I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me on that because I don't have numbers on that. But left-hand, alt-left stuff is usually targeting the majority targeting the majority, and people never call it out at all, ever. Especially social media things, just never talk about it. They never talk about people who are chanting death to, Republicans. They never talk about people who are chanting death to pretty much anyone on the right side, because the right side has the alt-right, and the alt-right is a horrible thing. People who are white supremacists, people who are Nazis, neo-Nazis, whatever, they're bad people. They're not people you want to associate with. If you're a white supremacist, then white supremacists believe that the white race is the best race and is the only true human race. Like, they believe that black people are subspecies, and that is absolutely a horrible thing to think. You should not think that at all. And neo-Nazis think that they themselves should dictate. They believe that they should control the gene pool. They march against ethnic minorities. I mean, the Holocaust is a more violent example of how neo-Nazis are today. They're bad people. They're straight up bad people. But the alt-left is just as bad, if not worse. Especially Antifa. Antifa is definitely the biggest alt-left thing, and there are a lot of people that are actually part of really good groups that I would still say are alt-left. For example, the feminism movement is a great movement. Women want, equal pay, equal rights. They have equal rights, but equal pay is still not a thing everywhere. There's still plenty of women who do the same amount of work at the same exact job, but get paid less than their male coworker because they're a woman and the employer feels that he can pay them less and get away with it. And that itself is wrong as well. However, then you have what I would refer to as radical feminists who talk about how men are less than they are, about how men must die, about how men shouldn't even be able to have jobs, about how men need to be oppressed, about how men need to basically be enslaved. There are plenty of radical feminists that will say stuff like that, and those people I would also consider are alt-left. They're just as bad as neo-Nazis and just as bad as as bad as white supremacists. The alt left and the alt right are just evil sides of a coin, but it's an evil coin. And if Twitter wants to start cracking down on hate speech and stuff, it needs to crack down on all hate speech, not just things that it considers to be alt right. Because Twitter even now suspends people that it feels, even if they're not alt right, they could be conservative, but Twitter sometimes will find any reason to suspend someone that they feel is conservative, or that is conservative or Republican, even if they're not alt right, even if they're not saying that that if they're not saying hate speech, they could just say something about like oh man that hurricane or they could say something like oh man I was late because there was traffic because a red light was stuck on a red light forever and no one would move, and it took forever for me to get to my workplace. That was bullshit. And Twitter would be like, oh, you said bullshit, you're suspended because you're a horrible person. And, I mean, it's not quite that bad, but it almost is. And Twitter, if it starts to use other sites as well, if one thing, I think it's an invasion of privacy, so that even if you don't agree with the whole alt-left, alt-right thing, I would still think you have to agree that's an invasion of privacy for it to view your other websites that you go to look at your cookies to see what all that you do, because now suddenly they can get into your private life, and also Twitter is biased about how it does this. If it does start cracking down on everything and becomes unbiased, great. I would love if it was unbiased and it was cracking down on everyone that it considers to do hate speech, both the alt-right and alt-left. That would be great. But so far, Twitter has not delivered on that. If it starts to deliver, my opinion on it will completely change, but until then, it's not going to. And even if it does start to become unbiased, and it does start to, deliver on its promises and crack down on all hate speech all across the board, it still is getting into your internet history. And you might think, well, I have nothing to hide, but what if Twitter one day decides to start changing its policy and using those cookies for, a little bit at a time, getting more and more nefarious, getting more and more into your stuff? What if it starts to say, well, if you disagree with something, like, if you start an argument that Twitter thinks that you are in the wrong on, then now we'll suspend your account. But not only if you're arguing on Twitter, what if you're arguing on our site? What if they say, well, you're not on our site, and we think that you're promoting stuff that you shouldn't be promoting, so we're going to suspend your account, even if all you're saying is, well, I like pineapples on pizza. I mean, it might eventually get to that point where they just basically only allow certain people on Twitter. And if that does happen, though, Twitter will fall apart. There's no way Twitter will survive if it becomes a completely biased, our way or the highway site. It will fall to pieces if that happens. I hope it doesn't. I like Twitter. I use Twitter a lot. I promote a YouTube channel on Twitter. I tell everyone in the end of all my videos, if you like my content, please be sure to subscribe to my Twitter, to follow me on Twitter, because you can talk to me far more easily there. It is a great site. You can easily communicate with lots of people at once on Twitter. You can send out messages to everyone with a single click of a button on Twitter. But if Twitter starts to just choose who it does and doesn't like, and letting them be on Twitter willy-nilly, then that's a problem. And if Twitter wants to start just cracking down on all hate speech and that's all it does, great. But if it's biased, or if it cracks down on other stuff that isn't unbiased, if it cracks down on stuff that isn't hate speech, if it cracks down on just free speech in general, that's a problem, and Twitter will start to fail because of it. And it will also be very wrong. And if they do this thing and it is biased, that's even worse. Because even if you're cracking down on what people say, if you're being unbiased about it, that's like something. But if you're being biased on anything, doesn't matter what it is you're trying to crack down on. If you're being biased about it, then that's a problem. If you're saying, well, if you're conservative, you might be alt-right, so we're going to suspend your account, but you're leftist and you're cheating death to white people, well, you're fine because you're not a conservative. If that happens, that's going to be a problem. And I don't consider myself conservative or liberal. I consider myself to be independent, so I don't really have a political side. This is my opinion on what Twitter tends to do. And actually, I do notice that even on a lot of political things, I do tend to side more conservative, especially with the way the liberals are right now. I have not agreed with anything liberal in quite a while. There are very few liberal things I have agreed on at all lately. but even before, even when I did start to agree with more liberal things, I was still leaning more conservative. It's not that I think that liberals are evil or that conservatives are evil. I think that they're both bad, or I think they're both good. I just think that it's a difference of opinion. But alt-right and the alt-left are both hate groups, and they both want to see the end of each other, and about, not the end of each other, but the end of, like, the other side, whether it is alt or not. And it is a problem. And Twitter needs to crack down on the entire problem, not just the problem that it wants to crack down on. So there's my my speech, my thing. I'll be sure to leave this link in the description box of this video. I'm copying it right now, so I can paste it in the video. If you like the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, however long it lasts. Follow me on Mixer because I stream on there. If you guys do leave comments, if you guys want to leave comments and like debate or anything like that, that's fine. Just know that I'm not necessarily obligated to answer any comments. So I won't necessarily be deleting everything. If you have your own opinion, I do want you to post it, because anyone that watches this video, if you do want watch this video and you read the article and you want to get a good opinion on this, read the comments, see what other people have to say, see their own opinions. I want everyone to share their opinions. I want everyone to be able to know, to think and understand every side. I might be completely wrong about absolutely everything. This is my opinion that I'm giving. But I don't want arguments. I don't want fights. I want people to just have calm discussions. It's been a long time since I've seen two human beings of differing opinions have an actual calm, collected discussion using facts and just saying, well, this is my opinion. I think this. It's been quite a while since I've seen that. If you guys do have different opinions, please share them in the comments. And if you guys want to talk to each other, then go right ahead. But have a conversation, not an argument. If it's an argument, I will start deleting comments if you guys are doing nothing but fighting. I want to see what you all have to say. I won't necessarily be replying to comments if I don't want to, because I'm not the best at arguing or debating, honestly. I'm actually pretty bad at both. I've tried. I'm really bad at it. I wind up getting really heated up. I wind up losing track of my entire train of thought. I wind up just going on a horrible rant, either to myself or to someone else. So I'm not necessarily going to answer any comments, but I will probably be reading quite a few of them. I might reply, I might not, but I would like to see what you all have to say, and I want anyone that watches this video to see what other people think. And if you want to have debate, go have debate. Just don't argue about it. Also, just a quick update, the rest of my content will be being uploaded up until the Friday after Thanksgiving, and maybe even Saturday, or, well, I guess Sunday after Thanksgiving, because I'll be streaming that Saturday, will largely be pre-recorded. I think I've actually already got everything prepared. I just haven't edited. There's like 3 videos I need to edit, and then I'm just going to start mass uploading. So for the next couple weeks, the videos you guys will be seeing will not be me making them and then suddenly uploading them. So if you comment and say, hey, I think you should change this for your next video, in 3 days you see a video and you're just like, hey, you should change this because of this reason, and you should do it by the next video. Well, too late. I've already made the next video, so sorry. Just keep that in mind. I do still want your feedback, though. And yeah. With all that being said, you are now required to have an absolutely fantastic day. You have no choice. I'll see all you absolutely gorgeous people in the next video. Stay freaky as you can be. Ciao, everyone.